Hello, that's hot tea with honey and lemon because I'm still coughing over here. I maybe have coronavirus. I think I'm kidding. But it is a possibility, right? I'm just admitting it's a possibility. Most of you know I had a procedure done. Hang on just a second. I'm going to change the size of this paper that I'm working on. I had a procedure done a couple of weeks ago now. It was a colonoscopy, and when I woke up, I discovered I had a very badly scratched throat. So my joke has been they got my two ends mixed up. It was not an endoscopy. I do know the difference. I've had one of those too in years past. Anyway, so I've been struggling and coughing basically for 2 weeks now. Anyway, thus, forgive me, getting into all kinds of personal stuff. Thus the hot tea with honey and lemon. So I'll be sipping that in a little bit. All right, let's get official. My name's Dan. That's official. This is Daily Art Adventure number 928 that I have called a Detailed Anatomical Sketch for Painting. Ready, set, go. Ow, that hurts. This new clapper really claps. Thank you, Ray. As I've said so often before, one of the things I like best about my career is the variety. I just love that. So here I am today doing something quite different. Let me move you around so you can see directly. For anybody who's watching me who English is a second language, please understand that I intentionally butcher the English language. The word is directly, not directly. I don't know, something's wrong with my head that I speak. All right, so here's the assignment. This is the woman. She's now maybe in her early 50s, maybe, for whom I'm doing this painting. This is a picture of her when she was 13. Here she is again. And there's her piano teacher. And the assignment was, my friend, Vidette is her name, she wanted me to do a painting from her memory. And the memory was she and two of her friends, a girls' trio standing in a television fundraiser singing Rocky Tops, a trio, a bluegrass song. So I looked up these images on Google and said ABCD, which one is most like what you remember? And so we went back and forth. I said, which of these microphones? And she said, yeah, that one looks kind of right. Here's the same, my friend Vidette. Here she is again at age 13, 14. Here's pages of notes from our conversations. Here's a whole bunch, just from Google, a bunch of girls singing. I'll be using that maybe some today. All right, so let me show you then. Yesterday I did this sketch. Sorry I did it without your company. I know, a lot of nerve to do anything without you guys watching. But hello, Uncle, good to see you. Hello, creative girl of color. Good to see you. It's been a while. Thank you for speaking up. Hello, Mr. India. Yes, and you know, if you're from India, you know all about tea, don't you? Yes, hot tea and honey and lemon. Good. Hello, Ali King. Good to have you here. And Mike, good. Thanks for speaking up. So I did this really quickly. I liked it well enough that I went ahead and did a sketch here. Now but I've erased it. Okay, so I did a sketch here. Then I turned it over, turned on my light table, which I'll be using again today quite a bit, and traced it. So it's a flopped image. Once I did it this way, I went, oh, this is better than what. Anyway, so this is a sketch yesterday. I worked on it, as you can see, for a little while, maybe 45 minutes to an hour, something like that. Then I scanned this into my computer, and then I pulled up Photoshop. You with me? I just want to show you the process. Here is the same illustration tweaked in Photoshop, right? The most important aspect of any painting is play of light. There's not much. I did a little bit, but not much. And partly because I said, I'll do it in Photoshop, much easier. So here is essentially the same sketch. Now, I forgot that I was supposed to have this man in here, so he's not here at all. I just added him completely in Photoshop. So this is what I emailed to my client yesterday, who is this woman. Here she is 13, and now she's maybe in her late 40s. I don't know. I don't know how old you are, Vidette. So my new friend, and she said, I love it. It's perfect. Which is, of course, what I love to hear. That's okay. Good. But now I am faced with a real challenge. Okay, because I'm supposed to do a painting. Okay, wait. Let me finish. So then I took that Photoshop image and I enlarged it. So this print is actually half the size of the painting. The painting is going to be 24 by 36, and this is 12 by 18. Okay, so that's just a nice size to work on. And this is a piece of sketch paper, Strathmore 400 for anybody who cares. I don't care. You shouldn't care. It's just sketch paper, any old sketch paper, but better quality than say than copy paper. All right, that's all you need to know. All right, so I'm going to tape this, and you can see, right, I'm working on a light table. Have used a light table a lot for decades and decades and decades, 40 plus years. When I was an illustrator, a light table was one of my most important tools, and I still use it at times. All right, so I've just taped this enlarged sketch to the back of enlarged print to the back of this sketch paper. You with me? All right, I hope I haven't just confused you completely. So now in pencil, I have to do quite careful drawings. Really, sketch is not the word. I really have to do quite careful drawing. The painting, the finished painting, is not intended to be a perfect portrait of these three girls. These are the three girls that are singing. The only modification that my client made was Sheila, this girl, might be a little bit shorter. So I've got red arrows drawn on my sketch, make her slightly shorter. Again, so here's this girl, here's this girl, and there's that girl. So I'm not going to try to make exact portraits, but I want them to be recognizable. Anyway, so how does one, let me switch you guys for a minute so I can talk to you face to face right here. First of all, let me say, if this were an illustration job, if there was an ad agency or IBM or some big company said we need a painting of three girls singing at a fundraiser in 1980 or 81. Everything I've done up to this point would be the same, but at this point I would have to do something. I'd go to a costume store or a Goodwill Salvation Army store. I would find three friends of mine, three young ladies, ask them to put on these dresses, and I would shoot them, take a bunch of pictures, and I would paint them from the photograph. So in some ways it'd be a lot easier to do it that way. That is, there's a long and sometimes vibrant debate in the art world. What's the difference between fine art and illustration? And I'm not saying that this is the difference, but this, in my mind, is one of the differences. When you're an illustrator, first of all, you cheat. That's why I would take pictures and then I would trace the photograph, you know, I'd blow it up to the right size, I would trace it and so on and so forth. And in many respects, the illustration would be more realistic than a fine arts painting. It would also, because I would do things like trace and so on, project, trace, grid, whatever I need to do, it would be much more slick than a fine arts painting. There would be less struggle because you just copy, just put it down, trace it, copy it, and you're done. And in fine arts, I feel like, and this is not the only, you know, I'm not the world expert on this, but in my opinion, in a fine arts painting, you expect there to be some wrestling, some struggle. All right. So how does one prepare? And I went downstairs and grabbed, I'm going to turn you around this way again, and grabbed some of my old sketchbooks. Again, this is just maybe instructive for those of you who are either early on your art journey. Okay, Dan Nelson Figure Studies, 2002. Wow. Mostly after George Bridgman. So this is a sketchbook that I did mostly. This is not Bridgman. This is Bridgman. Where's his book? I've shown you this book many times. The green one. Here, hang on just a second. It's right here. All right, so this sketchbook is the book in 18 years ago where I drew every single drawing in this book, okay? Which is how you derive benefit from books like this. Not by looking. If you look, you get about a 5-degree bump in your skill. If you draw, you get about a 95-degree bump in your skill. So here's one that this is definitely not George Bridgman because it's horses. But anyway, so that got it. So that's that's probably one of the most intense because it's a copy of. But I have others here. Just again, not, I guess to show off. Not really. Just to say, folks, gang, this is what artists do. Now, I have no idea what book I was copying. That's all bones. This is a sketch for a painting I did. In fact, I know I did that painting in 2002, so this is very old as well. But bones, at some point in your life, do you have to draw bones? The answer is, yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. It's just a never-ending. When I compare myself, say, to a Michelangelo, I hang my head in abject shame and embarrassment because the work that I've done on anatomy, it's just minuscule. These were sketches for a painting that I did, again, many years ago, likewise. So here's bones with muscles. So again, it's part of the paying your dues. It's part of what you do. Oh, this is interesting. I discovered this is a really good idea. I'd look forward to doing more. I went to our local art museum, North Carolina Art Museum, and did sketches from their statues, from their sculpture, because the models never move. If you follow me. Here's more analysis about the skull, analysis about the nose. This is a girl on the airplane next to me. Don't tell anybody. I drew a picture of and another passenger on the plane next to me, etc. So that's what you do if you're an artist, if you want to be a good artist. And I hope I'm not just freaking you out. This is one of my books from 2007. No, I'm sorry, 2012, the year of the portrait. My goal here, and some of these are terrible, as you can see. This is a good one. This was a year that I tried to do one portrait every day, and I would typically, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. I've been working all day. I would sit down and just pull up a picture in front of me and paint. As you can see, not very good. The reason was no cheating and speed. So I would do this in like, sometimes I would tell the length of time, 20 minutes or something. Anyway, so if you were stranded on a desert island and you're an artist, what 10 books would you take with you? Well, the answer is you'd take 10. That's just a fun architectural thing. This is sketches. This is not what I need to show you. What I'm meaning to show you is, oh, here's a good one. Here's a good one. This is me doing figure drawings, quote unquote, for anybody who does cityscapes. If you paint cityscapes, you're going to paint a lot of cars. If you're going to paint a lot of cars, you have to know what cars look like. So I remember sitting in a parking lot or two, this is a couple years ago, and just scribbling cars. Again, and I hope I hope I'm not discouraging anybody. This is what you do. Here's another, this was a sketch for a painting. I kind of like that sketch. I haven't seen that in years. All right, just one more I'm going to show you. This is my latest book, and the reason I want to show you this one is because I'm planning to teach an anatomy class here in Raleigh starting in August. It'll go for 13 weeks, so it's every, I forget, Wednesday or Thursday. Now this is leftover notes. By the way, this is Dan's Naughty Ends. Figure 8 heads high, neck, nipples, navel, nads, nails, knees, notch, and nothing. So I did these sketches live, but let me go back here to where perhaps you've seen me do this. This is the most intense, frankly, the most intense anatomy sketches that I've ever done. The most analytical, etc., etc. How to draw the ear. And a lot of it is mnemonic devices, tricks for remembering. I've got a swan, the letter Y, and a feed sac lobe. Anyway, here's how to draw the human. This is the kind of thing I'll be doing in my class. How to draw human hips. So I want every student to be able to draw this from memory. And here's how they do it. They draw a bowl, then they stretch it, then they look at it lengthwise, then they spill it, then they whack it, then they press it, and then they take a can opener, and then they bam it with a ball peen hammer, and when you're all done, you can draw that. So again, and I go into several pages of legs. This is all stuff off the internet, and by the way, I have amassed over 300 images on my Pinterest. So if you want to 300 images in 17 categories, like legs, feet, hands, arms, ears, nose, eyes, mouth, head, torso, full figure. So 17 different categories. And again, this is all. So here's what does a knee look like? A knee looks a lot like a kid holding an ice cream cone. You can either go this way or this way. Here's a realistic knee. Can you see so this, if you can see this, then that helps you draw the knee. Get it? Likewise here, here's a bowling pin upside down to get the shape of the calf right there. And all kinds of stuff. Again, most of this stuff is not original with me. I've just modified it for my own purposes. And I've been having a ball. Oh, I like this one. This is mine. No, somebody else came up with the chain to compare to the arm, deltoid, biceps, triceps, lower arm, and hand. And then I realized if you take it and take that last link and give it a twist, it's much more realistic. So that, and then so forth. And here it is again. So all these tricks that you learn. The hard part about anatomy is remembering stuff. So I've got in the verbiage here, I've got all kinds of little tricks for, again, mnemonic devices, little tricks to help us remember. I do hope to eventually have all of this on YouTube, have all my instruction. Here's some I was just working on Sunday, I think it was. This is about the shelf of the eyelids and so on. So there we go. How does an artist work? A good artist work? The answer is hard. And some of you are saying, heck, I am never going to draw people or paint people. That's all right. This is not for you then. Bless you. Hey, let me go back and see some of the chats, you guys. Hello, Warren. Uncle 60, how's the new camera fund going? Well, I haven't had any more contributions. The rest of you, heads up, Uncle 60 has started a GoFundMe, not literally, but he started a fund to get me a new camera so that I can broadcast on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. Thank you very much, Uncle. And hello, Wanda. I'm glad you caught me live too. How fun. Yeah, the painting is on its way. Nancy mailed it, and I think she said it'll get there Monday. So thank you. That's so fun to hear you say hi. Hello, Google FF. Good morning to you. Bridgman. Yes, the father of anatomy. That's exactly right, Mr. India. You're exactly correct. That's Mephiles. You're exactly right. You take 10 blank books. I must, if you made a comment, Mephiles, I must have missed it. That is hilarious. I apologize for the boobs thing. Oh my goodness. All right. So let me walk you through kind of how I'm going to fold this in half. How I'm going to tackle this thing. I'm going to start with this girl in the middle. So I've shown you, in a sense, by going through those sketchbooks, I've shown you my mental or academic, if you will, preparation. And here's how that gets translated for me. First of all, for the moment, I'm holding holding the pen in my side saddle technique, as you can see. I talked to my client, again, who's this girl right here. This is nearly 40 years ago. And to get a little bit of her insight about the personality of these three girls. So we decided to put this girl in the middle. She was the one that was the most singer-ish of the three. She's a good singer, so Vidette tells me. And I sent my client a whole list of questions. And one of them was, which of the three girls was the most show-offy? And she confirmed that this one that I'm drawing right now, her name is Jill, was indeed the most show-offy. She's still a singer to this day, Vidette tells me. So for that reason, we put her in the middle, and I'm going to make her she is wearing this dress, so that's a great help. I don't have to make up which dress in this case. So she's going to be. Oh, and I decided to move the microphone up from in the sketches down here and move it up here. So again, I got a photograph of a microphone. Just looking up microphone, studio mic, 1980s. You got that. All right, so her gestures, her body language is going to be a little more expressive. I'm now, this is her left hand, and I'm holding my hand like as an actor. Right now I'm an actor, and I'm thinking, got my eyes closed, and I'm thinking, okay, if I'm this kind of show-offy 13-year-old girl, and I'm singing Rocky Top, it's a bluegrass song. How do I hold my hand? And I'm holding it like this. Not like this, not like, it's like this. And now, should I show you? Sure, hang on just a second. I've mentioned this very briefly before, but I'm going to show you some of my studio. Okay, can you see me way over there waving? This is, why do I have a mirror? Why have I always had, in fact, I've got 2 mirrors in my studio. There's another one right there, do you see it? Why do I have mirrors in all my studios? Well, now you know why. Because first, I'm going to hold my hand the way I think this girl would be holding. Again, I'm thinking like an actor here. And I'm holding my hand, and I'm looking at it. I will be looking at it in the mirror. Does that make sense? So again, weird. Now I'm going to hold up my right hand in front of the mirror because then I'll have the translation. And of course, I've got a 66-year-old man's hand. You understand? a lot of difference between a 66-year-old man hand and a 13-year-old girl hand. Be that as it may, it's still, okay, hang on just a second. I can definitely get the general, okay, get it? So I'm looking at my hand in the mirror. And again, I don't know what you do if you're an artist and you don't have a little bit of thespian in you, actor. I don't know what you do. You probably just get stuff like this wrong. Forgive me for being so blunt. But you have to be able to envision. And I'm going to have her right shoulder hunched, raised up just a little bit. I'm acting literally. You can't see me, but I'm trying to guess again. How does a little bit of a show-offy, a little bit of a ham, 13-year-old girl who's singing, on TV, how does she hold? In this case, how does she hold her arm? And so I've got a little bit of higher level of energy. Okay, let me talk a little bit about my technique. This is pretty typical for me. This is not the way to do work like this. This just is my way. After showing you all those sketches a few minutes ago that I did from George Bridgman and a bunch of other stuff, why am I not doing that? Why am I not why am I not doing an Andrew Loomis head, say, like this? Why am I not doing this analytical stuff? I'm glad you asked. The reason is, for me, and this is just what works for me, I would rather start a drawing flying by the seat of my pants, if you will. I would rather, instead of getting stuck in hyper-analytical anatomy, instead of doing that, I would rather concentrate on, hang on here, I hope I've got a eraser pencil in here somewhere. I would rather focus on gesture. I'd rather focus on believable or realistic. Well, there you go. Next time I go to an art store, I've always got a short list, sometimes a long list. I've got a short list of things that I need to buy at the art store. So there we go. Next time I go, I need to buy some eraser pencils. I have several around, but none in this drawer, so that's an oversight. Anyway, why do I not start all with? Again, let me illustrate again what I mean. Why don't I start? So let's do the George Bridgman approach. because one would think after doing all this sort of academic work that I just showed you a few minutes ago, that in fact that I would use it. Okay, well, I do use this anytime I need to, but I'm not starting that way. First of all of this kind of work is supposed to be subconscious, subliminal, inside my mind, without me having to consciously draw it. But I'm going to make a very important point here in a minute. So this is supposed to be, all this kind of stuff, you know, like 8 heads tall and all that kind of stuff, is supposed to be in my mind already while I'm drawing, say, this. But I'd rather start with a more natural, realistic, and again, going to move her arm up a little bit. I'm guessing I'll probably draw each of these girls about 6 to 8 times before I get the exact image that I'm happy for. So this is just sketch number, well, 2 really, right? First of all, I did this, then I did this, which I'm tracing right now, and so on. So at least 4 more times. Here's the point I want to make. If while I am drawing this, if my figure gets unbelievable, like I've already got an issue with it already, this girl's shoulders are rather wide, so that, you know, make note of that. If I find that my drawing is getting, Texas word, cattywampus, if my drawing is getting, I'm having a hard time capturing realistic anatomy, then I will superimpose this kind of thinking on top of this. Does that make sense? So I start out, okay, here's her neck needs to go at a different angle. I start out drawing freestyle, if you will, but then if I need to, I'll revert to the text. And this happens all the time, especially if I'm drawing somebody, a figure, in a in an unusual pose. So this clearly, this is not an unusual pose. So I may not have as much trouble, say, as I normally would. All right, so I'm going to stop with her for the moment and go on to the next girl, which is this girl here in the middle. I have a couple different photographs of her. Again, this is my client, the woman for whom I am doing this drawing. Here she is. So I've got 3 pictures of her. 1, 2, 3. She almost looks a little chubby here. I mean, ever so slightly as a 13-year-old. I chuckle sort of because I met this woman a couple days ago, and she's not chubby at all. So that must have been baby fat that she that she outgrew. And I need to be real careful what I'm saying, because Vidette might be watching or might watch this later. Vidette, you're lovely, my dear. And you were, of course, cute as a button when you were 13, but you've aged well. You can't say things like that in our culture anymore. I'll get in trouble for, what's the word? Sexual harassment, right? Hello, Bill. Good to have you on board. Hello, Radina. Thank you for reminding us. Happy Canada Day. Indeed, I forgot. My Canadian roots are falling, aren't they? And Methalis said, I'm a graphic artist by trade, a light table. Yeah. Oh, new fan from Thailand. Welcome. Hello, good to have you. Good to have you in here. Are we getting static, Methalis? Hello, Betty. Good morning to you. All right, so I'm going to leave it. Oh, and in just in case I decide to end this broadcast before I finish, which is certainly the case, I'll tell you what I'll do next. After doing this sketch and some of the rest on this side of the paper, I will turn it over and I will redraw the whole thing. In fact, let me do this for a second. I'll redraw the whole thing backwards. See, because I already see things in this face and in this figure that I don't like so well. So I will make corrections, and then I'll erase what's on the front. I'll erase everything I'm doing now, and then I'll turn it over a third time, or turn it over a second time for a third drawing, and finish on this side. So at least 3 more drawings. All right, let's get to work on Dear Vidette. I'm going to turn off this light table because the previous sketch is bothering me. Vidette, my friend, my new friend, has made it clear to me that she did not consider herself a singer at the time that she did this. It was their piano teacher that volunteered these girls into singing on the TV fundraiser. And Vidette did not consider herself a singer. So the personality that I'm going to try to capture on this face is not quite the same, a little bit of a cocksure, confident, show-off attitude on this girl in the middle. And Vidette won't be smiling quite as largely as the friend in the middle. Does that make sense? Again, all this this is all the stuff that I certainly did when I was an illustrator. You have to be a storyteller. You have to picture the story that you're trying to portray. A little bit of ribbon in her hair here, and then you have to be a little bit of an actor, in my opinion, because you have to act out. So let me think about this girl for a moment, and I'm going to turn on. Yeah, see, so I've got her here in the sketch. I've got her hands crossed in front of her because that's the fig leaf pose. When somebody is shy in front of a crowd, they'll cross their hands in front of them. Security pose, or insecurity really, but seeking security in one's body by covering up. Whereas a girl who's a little bit more of a show-off has her arms out to draw attention to herself. So of course, and this is the sketch I already showed Vidette, and she approved of the sketch. So, and we also know what dress Vidette was wearing, so that's a big help as well. Kind of a little poofy sleeved pink something. I'm not a fashion person, so I won't even attempt to come up with the right. And I think in my sketch, I think my arms are a little bit short. So I'm like, just to give you a quick tip, head height. So roughly an inch, which means that each half of her arm should be roughly 1.5 inches. And I've got that just about right. Again, all the stuff you learn just by doing the homework. I had one of my regular followers, I forget right now which one of you it was. I think it was Marlene. Yeah, it was Marlene. Said that she's been a vegan painter for decades. she would not include any people or animals in her paintings because she felt so inadequate about doing people. And she admitted that I had helped her a little bit to get over her vegan paintings. She's given her a little bit of confidence to try to incorporate some figures. I'm very glad to hear that. Once again, I talk about this a lot when in my wedding portraits or anything. I would rather have these figures err on the side of long and thin rather than short and stumpy. I would rather have my figures, the figures in all my paintings, I'd rather have them be slightly flattering rather than slightly not flattering, whatever the opposite of flattery is. And then the question is, well, how much? And by the way, I've had some people in years past then try to bring me into this, the body shaming, socio-political fight, like we shouldn't photographers shouldn't airbrush their figures so that they're all super skinny and thereby cause all women and girls in particular to feel shamed by their bodies that don't look like the models. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? Body shaming. There's a whole movement, I would say now. In my opinion, and my opinion's right, that does not pertain to visual artists. That does pertain, and I essentially agree with, that, yeah, it's ridiculous to show, well, I mean, all the mannequins in all the stores, in all the clothing stores in the world, the mannequins are size 0, as I understand it. Just walk down, your local mall and look in all the store windows of the women's clothing store and notice the size of the mannequins. They're typically, unless it's, what's that one store, Lane, I forget. Anyway, unless it's a store aiming for plus sizes or full figure, whatever. I don't even know. See, I'm going to get in trouble because I don't even know what the right terminology is. It doesn't apply to, in my opinion, to painting, because everybody knows a painting is a painting and a photograph is a photograph, and there's a difference between the two. All right, that's as far as I want to go with that discussion. So we'll just leave that right there. At the moment, I'm reasonably happy with my little sketches here. Oh, thank you, Methodist. Yes. You're right. When I was doing the earlier sketches, I was loose and static, a lot of mess and movement, and then I tightened it up. Actually, this is very unusual. Let me go back, by the way. I said I did one thumbnail sketch, and it's pretty bad, but I liked it well enough that I went ahead and did a second one right here, which has since been erased. Do you understand? I did a second sketch here, then I turned this piece of paper over, turned on my light table, and I traced through the back. And then when I was finished drawing this, I erased that. All right, so this is my third sketch, which is very unusual. Normally I would expect to do 20 sketches before I got to this point. It's just because I felt like then fixed it in Photoshop. It's simply because I felt like, oh, well, that was easy, not typical. Let me show you another rough sketch that I did a couple days ago, and I did show you me working on this one. This is the Photoshop printout of the sketch I was doing for my friend Buddy, or William, a couple days ago. And Some of you watch me do this in gouache, and you can maybe tell that I've edited it. It's hard to say. Edited it quite heavily in Photoshop to get. I've added an eagle, added a deer in here, which I'm hoping you can barely see because that's the idea. And this, I did several more sketches, more typical, maybe 5 or 10 sketches on that one before I got to that point. All right, now let's do girl number 3, and we're going to make her slightly shorter. And for some reason here at this angle, I am doing a little bit of Andrew Loomis. So, some of you are saying, what? What's an Andrew Loomis? Okay, hang on. Since I just happen to have it, I have 2 Andrew Loomis books right here. This is Figure Drawing for All It's Worth. Okay, since I've gone this far, hang on. The 3 best books in the world, in my opinion, the 3 best figure drawing books, and I've got scores more figure drawing books, but the 3 best are George Bridgman, Art Student League of New York, 1920s. Andrew Loomis, 1940s. And Loomis was just, I mean, his renderings are so jaw-droppingly beautiful. But what I mean by that is the rendering itself, not how accurate it is, but just good pen and ink drawings, good pencil drawings. He just, oh, he's downright depressing. He is so good. I mean that in the best possible way, of course. Charcoal here. What a, oh, anyway. And he worked in the 40s. And then here's his book on drawing the head and hands. So a minute ago when I said I'm doing a little bit of Andrew Loomis on this head, this is sort of the kind of thing I was thinking about. And again, this is Andrew Loomis. He drew this out of his head, right? And he could do this, evidently, sit down all day, every day, and draw male, female, boys and girls, old and young faces. It's sickening. Absolutely sickening. Anyway, he worked in the 40s. And then third is Jack Ham. He worked in the 60s. And whenever I talk about Jack Ham, I have to say, now you have to get over the 60s, you know, hairstyles, makeup styles, and clothing styles. What makes Jack Ham stand out, and I have not, one of these days I promise I'm going to draw every drawing in this book. Haven't done it yet. What makes Jack stand out is his mnemonic devices, his tricks, his analytical, so all this verbiage. He's the most clever of these 3 books. I mean, they're all clever, but he gives you so many tricks for remembering. I hope you're just getting the impression. I look like, see, this kind of analysis. You know, high, low, high, low, high. You know, stuff like that. Just anyway. So those are the 3 best books, in my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, of course. The 3 best anatomy teachers of all time are those 3. All right, so let me get back to, and what prompted all that was me saying, okay, I'm find myself, because of the angle of this girl right here, I'm doing a little bit more and that is this girl right here. Okay, with the, looks like either red hair or strawberry blonde, or there's a name for that, reddish brunette, I forget. Again, I'm so not into fashion. I can't even remember what the name of hair color is. And I may have her eyes closed just for fun. You know, 3 girls singing. I'll listen to Rocky Top song one more time. You guys can Google it as easily as I. I'll listen to it one more time because I will. I mean, they'll be each, their mouth will be doing an ah vowel. I don't know if you can tell that that's what's going on here or not. Hang on, let me show you a crazy little trick. This is an eraser stick, and this is a pencil sharpener, because I want that right there. Now, as I said, normally I would prefer to have an eraser pencil, and I have several here and there, but I don't have any in my drawer to the left, so that's an oversight. I need to fix that. Okay, let me see what kind of pose. As I proceed with this sketch, it's very, very possible I will also be moving the girls around a little bit. One of the ways I would do that, perhaps, if I like this sketch, or more to the point, after I turn it over and redraw it on the other side, if I feel like I'm on a good trajectory, if it's going well, I'll actually slap this on my scanner, which is over there to my left, my computer scanner, make a copy of it, then print it out, then erase what's on this paper, and then retrace it, moving, do you know what I mean? Moving the print that came off my printer, so that I can just get the girls exactly in the relationship, the pose that I want. And in my sketch here, I say I actually have this girl also doing the classic fig leaf pose. I'm not making that up, by the way. That's but that might be a bit much. I'm not sure that I want. Yeah, I don't think I want both girls. Two girls. There we go. So I'm going to have this arm hanging by her side. I think I'll like this better, but I want to indicate a little bit of tension again, because this girl's the show off, so she's more show offy. This girl's more shy and subdued in personality. This girl, she's trying to be good, but the position of her fingers indicates that will indicate that she has some tension in her body, because their hand will be kind of like, I don't know what exactly. Again, I need to act it out. Close my eyes, pretend I'm this girl. Yeah, something like this, like pinky stuck out a little bit, these two together, and something like that. This shows it's not just a relaxed hand. It's got a little bit of tension in it, which I think it would be very believable. Now you understand, I'm sure, I don't even expect my client, Vidette, unless she watches this video, I don't expect non-artists, I don't expect hardly anybody, except maybe my fellow artists who are pretty good, to look at this hand and say, oh look, he's got tension in that hand. You understand, don't you? An artist does bukus. An artist does all kinds of stuff that he or she never expects the general public to pick up on. That doesn't matter. The fact is, all human beings recognize body language. I don't expect anybody to analyze it and say, oh look, he put tension in that hand. No. But simply by putting the tension in the hand, the typical viewer will get the right feeling about, in this case, this figure. Does that make sense? And I know I'm probably insulting your intelligence by even saying all that, but also I think I want this girl leaning forward a little bit. She's the shortest of the three, and so she's going to be leaning in just a little bit more, but not, still kind of far away because she's shy, but leaning in. Anyway, these are all the crazy thoughts that I promise. This kind of thinking has been going on in my head for decades when I was an illustrator. It's just I didn't have YouTube back then, so I was able to do all this stuff without anybody watching. Thank you. We're looking at your chats. Appreciate it. Thank you. Edited it. Thank you, Methalus. Thank you for your. All right, I think I'm ready to, in a while, turn those girls over and draw them. I actually like the abstraction. I don't know how well you can see this. I really like the abstraction of this face in some ways better than the more precision. And they both need fixing. I'll do that later. But I have some other really important work to do. Let's turn the light back on. And one of the issues here in the drawing is perspective. The perspective of the furniture behind the three girls. Now, I debated having this. So this is at least in America, this is the typical telethon thing, right? They had set builders come into the studio the week before this happened, and they built, risers. Maybe that was already in the building, and then they put these panels in front to give people something to sit behind. And it's very obvious, I'm sure, to you, that this is a very low view of these girls. Again, that's just the way, let me turn this off, you can see it. That's just the way I pictured this scene, is our eye view is about at their knees, or maybe their thighs, right at the top of their knees, and we're looking up. I just felt like, first of all, I want them to be large because they're the stars, right? Maybe I should just show you the sketch. They're the focal point, right? And I just felt like rather than a high view looking down, a low view looking up was the way to go. And I thought about having this be a curved surface, either curved this way or this way. But I know the small town, Vidette told me this is New Bern, North Carolina, 1980. And my guess is that a television station, News Channel 12, would not invest in a curved, whatever you call this thing, panel. That'd be more expensive. So my guess is I'm just going to indicate again, I get the only reason I'm telling you that is because those are the kinds of thoughts that do indeed go through my mind as the artist. I have to, it's my job as the artist to think the story, to get the camera, so to speak, the story in focus. That's my job. And again, very little of this will ever be discerned, detected, noticed by the general art observing public. I think the only people who would notice such a thing would be my fellow artists. I really do. I love these rulers with the lines on them are a great help. I don't think I'll do it for this job. Let me zoom all the way out here and tell you, though, it's possible. And I've certainly done it many times before, and I have a longer ruler. Here we go. I may actually, excuse my head, I may actually draw a literal vanishing point. Oh, heck, let's just do it, because this is a trick worth knowing for some of you. When you want to get the perspective exactly correct. Okay, so I have taped this paper down. That's important. Okay, and I've basically drawn two horizontal lines in perspective. So that determines everything else. So with the same pens, I'm going to draw right on my table. And I hope, although I'm not positive, I'm hoping that my vanishing point will be on the table. Ooh, it's going to be very close. Okay. Yeah, you can see. All right. Oh my goodness. Wouldn't you know it? The vanishing, but I can make it work. Hang on. Here's the trick I want to show you in a minute. So the vanishing point is about 1/4 of an inch off the end of my drawing table, but I'm not. It's close enough. I'm not going to pick it up. Now I'm rummaging over here for a paper clip. All right, I got a paper clip. You can take the paper clip and bend one part of it up straight up that way, and then take this part and open it up. Okay, here's the trick that's worth seeing for some of you. If you've never done this before, do understand that artists are so weird. They will actually do stuff like that. So the upright one, that's my vanishing point. And I'm going to tape this down with some medium strong paint, not killer, it's not duct tape or gaffer's tape, but close enough. All right, I think that'll hold. You ready? So now I actually literally have a physical vanishing point. And I'm going to turn my light table back on. Now that helps me, and my ruler's even not quite long enough. I'll do this old trick, turn it into a longer ruler. And this gives me my perspective line for the second row. In fact, I'm going to make this line go through the girls a little bit. And then there will be some of that same perspective up here in the ceiling of the studio. Does it make sense? So there have been times in years past when I was an illustrator, I would have literally hundreds. This is for extremely technical, which didn't happen very often, but it happened on occasion. I have literally hundreds of perspective lines like this, and I would build 2 vanishing points, sometimes extended out away from my drawing table by 1, 2, 3 feet, and so on, and use a yardstick. Let me see if there's any other. I'll just do a couple extra lines. Oh, here's a good trick, by the way. Let me tell you another good trick. I'm going to go ahead and do it. This trick, which is, and as you can see, I'm drawing the lines right through the girls, right through the drawing. Oh yeah, here we go. I absolutely need. I've got the logo, the lettering, the words on this this front counter face. I don't know what to call it. This panel right in front of us. Okay, let me go back up there, and I'm gonna again draw these lines right through the girls, right through everything. I'll tell you why in a minute. I'll show you why in just a minute. Let's just do some up here. It'll be really clear in just a minute when I turn off this light. So a lot of these lines that I've just drawn are random. All right, let's turn off this light. I'm done with that vanishing point. That's enough. Let me move this over. Whoops. Take the tape off. And here's what I want you to see is that I think you can see my lines. So now I've got just a bunch of random lines, all that point perfectly at the vanishing point down here. That means if I have to draw anything else in perspective, I can probably just eyeball it. Does that make sense? So for instance, like let's say I want the middle of this. See, I can see the middle. I don't have to draw that line. Those two lines are close enough. Does that make sense? So now the question is, should I do the same thing going the other way? Because I really should. I know y'all wanted to see that twice anyway, did you? I don't think you did, but we're going to do it anyway since I've gone this far. Whoops, and I made a mistake. Hang on. One of the lines that I should have drawn was the horizon. Do you understand that that looks like it's about there? Where the vanishing point is horizontal, I'm gonna guess it's right about there. That is the vanishing point. That is the horizon. Now, in a scene like this, of course, we're not going to see a horizon. But isn't it interesting? Look at, I told you a while ago. I said I think this viewpoint is just about at the top of their knees, or the bottom of their thigh, and that's exactly. So here's, there's a knee. This girl's shorter, so her knee's down there. That's about exactly. All right, so let's come over here now and do basically the same thing, but the one line that absolutely has to be consistent is the horizontal line. So once again, I'm going to draw this right on my light table. Oh my goodness. So at the moment, my vanishing point is off. How deep do I want to get in this, y'all? How deep do I? Okay. Move my tea. My hot tea and honey isn't so hot anymore. Paper cutter. I know from my light table I can jam this piece of cardboard in there. Let me think just a second. Do I have a piece of white foam core? Okay, yes I do. Hang on, I'm getting in deeper than can you tell? Sometimes one thing leads to another. I'm now in my attic looking for a piece of white foam core. I have lots of white foam core. I just have to find a piece. Okay. We've just rebuilt our attic, by the way, about 2 months ago. Paid my wonderful handyman Doug a couple weeks of work to make that attic functional. I have really enjoyed having that attic. You can hear me off camera. All right. Now another piece of tape. Sometimes the things we do for love, the things we do for art. See, the foam core is to make up for the thickness of this plexiglass. Whew. All right, that took a while, didn't it? Now let's find this vanishing point. Now that I've built a little extension, I didn't expect to get into quite this degree of whatever, but there you go. All right, notice how these three lines don't agree with each other. These two converged, and the two bottom lines converged there, and the top one is off. So that means that one of these lines is incorrect. And I'm going to just make a decision. I'm going to call my vanishing point right there. And then I'm going to redraw. So here's my physical vanishing point. Somebody out there probably is enjoying this. Somebody out there might be saying, golly, I never thought about that. Others are going, oh, come on, I've done this for years. You know, they show us all this stuff. All right, that's just the way it goes. I remember one time years ago when I had just become a full-time illustrator, like 1986 or 7, and I joined the so now I'm doing the same trick that I did a while ago, and let's draw some vanishing points. And I was a avid learner because I was so aware. My degree in college, of course, was not in illustration. It was fine arts, which means we didn't learn anything. We didn't hardly learned how to do anything. It was all of fine arts, typical fine arts. Anyway, so I went to this Dallas Society of Illustrator meeting, and one of the early meetings I went to was a guy doing an airbrush demo, and he sat there right in front of us for like an hour and a half or something like that, and showed us every single step. And this is Dallas, big market. He was very good, and I was just enthralled. I was sitting there just swallowing everything that he was saying, just soaking it up and absorbing it. And then at some subsequent meeting after that, I think they must have been discussing, all right, I'm done with that. I'm going to remove, after all that work, right? Good enough? Because I have to move this table. All right, I hope that was helpful to somebody. Yeah, okay, Mathalis, I will tell you in a second. Yeah. This is the lady for whom this is 40 years later. I did a painting for her a couple weeks ago. If by any chance you were watching me, I did the painting of the 3 little boys on the beach, which was so precious, such a cute image. And they're not her boys. They are actually the man it looks like she's going to marry. Yahoo! Happy story. They're his boys, and lo and behold, they're technically not even his boys. He adopted them. Whew. And two of the 3 were, I think, mentally challenged. Anyway, so what a precious project. So I had a great time talking to Vidette as I delivered that painting, and then she said, well, I've got another idea for drawing. And that's how that came about. She said, it's from my memory. Do you ever do that? And of course, not very often, but I do. As you can tell, this is just a really fun challenge for me. It is a challenge, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna bust some brain cells trying to do this. But it nevertheless is quite fun. So I'm assuming now you can see I have all the perspective lines that I would need. That is enough so that if I find while I'm doing one up here, see, I can say close enough. Do you follow? Do you see what I mean? So just having a smattering of those 2 vanishing points. All right, let's keep drawing then. And yeah, so here we are. I'm going to draw another line, vanishing point line right here. I think I put down my pencil somewhere a few minutes ago. Oh, good. I've got another one. There we go. So I'm building I'm building everything, including stair steps in this studio, right? So that's what I'm doing right now, constructing some stairs. Once again, when you look at a painting, like for instance, who's the uber famous painting? I keep on doing this one. I I'm going to turn on my backup phone. The School of Athens. Is it Rubens? I mean, it's one of the most famous paintings in all of art history. The School of Athens. And I think that most non-artists, would look at that and nod, say, "Wow," as they should, as I look at it and say, "Wow," but would let me back up. When non-artists, let me pull up here's a principle, something just to keep in mind. I'll use this again. When non-artists or early journey beginner artists look at a drawing, say like this, and this might be instructive for some of you. I want to tell you what your mind does, and then I want to tell you what your mind does wrong. Okay. Is that nice? Just tune in here for a little discouragement. No, here's what the typical mind, and I know this because I do it myself. All right, what we notice is the last layer, details. This is what all of us do, but especially those of us who are perhaps, hang on, let me interrupt myself. School of Athens. Search by Raphael. All right, there we go. All right, and then this is, let's bring up the whole thing. There we go. Okay, can you see this? This is really what I want to talk about more. Whoops, come on. I'm having a hard time. I'll work on that. Okay, back to this. What we all, especially beginner artists, do is we only notice the last layer, the final details. A typical non-artist, when they look at a finished work of art, they'll say, "Ooh, look at the sparkle in the eye. Ooh, look at the shadow. Look at the light. Look at the." They will see and perceive and process the last layer. What they don't see is all the work like this that Andrew Loomis has going on in the background. The underdrawing, the underpainting, the underwear painting, the analytical work. Though these are, again, these are finished drawings, and again, the beginner would look at these, say, "Ooh, look at," and talk about little tiny things, not realizing that this kind of analysis way predates the details. Right? How much more so? Let's see. I've hit visit here, but it doesn't seem to be. This is my old phone that doesn't always work remarkably well. Come on. Anyway, you know it. You know the School of Athens. I'll just blow it up like that. Again, most beginner artists or non-artists look at it and say, "Ooh, look at that man writing on a," they look at the little stuff, the little details. "Ooh, look at the checkerboard." What they don't see is, of course, this is like over-the-top detail, this kind of painting. What they don't see is all the crazy detail that the artist did to get to that point. And okay, on a much, now I'm embarrassed to make a comparison between Raphael's School of Athens and my girls' trio. Be that as it may. What I want to say is this is what artists do. This is what, if you will, this is what real artists do. Real artists have to do stuff, the great majority of which is unnoticed, unrecognized, unseen by the general art public. I'm looking for my pink ruler. All right, get another one. And again, probably some of you are saying, well, heck, if that's what it takes to be a real artist, count me out. And I really do not want to be, I don't want what I'm saying to be a discouraging thing at all. But I'm always conscious that it's possible that some young artist might be watching. And indeed, this kind of talk could be constructive, instructive, I mean, for some of you. I think, well, this is one of the impressions that I have about having been a professional artist for 40 plus years. And again, thinking with an eye, ear, with a thought toward any students who might be watching, or early journey painters or artists. Generally speaking, a whole lot more goes into it than most people realize. And again, I don't say that to be discouraging. It might be a dose of reality. Some of you are maybe looking at all the stuff and say, oh man, let me add them. That's for me. That's what I want to do right there. Because your mind gravitates toward the analytical, the straight lines, the mathematical, and so on. You might be a little bit more. And please forgive me again. You don't have to be like me. Of course. But I'm thinking about the back corner of this room. I wasn't, when I did the sketch, I didn't have a back corner in mind at all. But now that I've got these perspective lines, I'm thinking that might actually be a good idea to sort of anchor, visually anchor the, yeah, I like that. I mean, there are a number of you, many, who are, you're only going to do, impressionistic, loose still lifes, even loose figurative paintings, loose landscapes, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm never going to do it. And that's all right. You're perfectly free not to ever do anything like this, okay? Of course, I hope that's obvious. But there are some of you might be getting a little hint about your true calling as an artist. Say, oh wow, I never thought about that. Anyway, get it? I'm just explaining why I'm blathering on. All right, let's do some news. So again, my client told me the name of the television station, and of course, so I Googled News Channel 12, I think it is, yeah, in New Bern, North Carolina, and I hit the word logo, and then I tried to look for it 1980, so I did News Channel 12 logo 1980s, and I didn't come up with anything. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to take their current logo, and again, that's just might be instructive. Some of you might be saying, what? You mean you Googled the actual logo of the television? And the answer is, yeah, well, of course. All right, I seem to be on that theme about, at least for a while here, about what goes on in the background that probably many of you never thought about. I mean, I've got a mirror in my studio so I can hold my hands on my face in this or that pose so that I can look at myself, right? I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. I will have to look up again the logo to get colors, because I didn't, at the time that I did it, I was not worried about colors, so I'll have to look that up again. CHA, I'll tighten this up later, probably. Channel. All right, now let's start drawing in some of these figures that are up here answering the phone. And I just switched pencils on purpose because all of these figures are going to be considerably more abstract than the three girls. And it's likely that I should be able, again, just based on my, buildup of general knowledge about the human figure, I should be able to draw these figures back here just without any trouble, straight out of memory banks, right? But I'll also turn them over and redraw them from the back. So there's a man with a old-fashioned rotary telephone, right? 1980. And let's put a woman next to him. And of course, it goes without saying, you consider racial mixture. That's another topic altogether, isn't it? Hair, big hair, right? 1980s, big hair. And I'll have her just in the act of hanging up her phone. Just a funny, one of those funny things. The African American population in America makes up 13% of our population. I think that's a pretty widely known, recognized number. But in advertising, just check me out on this. If a space alien were to land on our planet, in a mustache here, I'm sorry, I just realized, 1980, a man would have a mustache, wouldn't he? Without a goatee, just the mustache. If an alien landed and just looked at our advertising in America, they would conclude that about 49% of our population was black, and my numbers are mixed up, and 34%, 35% was Asian, and it's just one of those funny. It's all part of our nation coming out of a history for which we are making amends, and in the process of coming out, we have to go through these intermediate stages of immature processing. Okay, and let's make sure that we have some person up here holding with the left hand. Let's make sure that this person here is black. Again, this is not an advertising piece, so we're not under quite as much pressure to make half the people black. Do you understand? But if it was an ad for whatever, News Channel 12, if it was a piece for their advertising, indeed, probably at least only less than half the people in this painting would be white. That is true. That's true, and it's truly kind of crazy, but that's the world we live in. Like I say, I think we're paying still for the sins of our ancestors, aren't we? Like it or not, we are. Oh, there we go. Yeah. And I don't know I haven't decided, I don't know what kind of sign. I'd sort of like to make it like light bulbs. I might do that in this sketch. I'm going to, of course, when I'm finished with this, of course, I'm going to send the sketch to my client for her approval. And I wonder if I could do dots of lights. Here's some of my reference. Wow, look at this, it's really old-fashioned. That looks like a phone number. Looks like I don't know, is that a European phone number? No. Huh, I don't know. I'll have to decide in 1980 what kind of sign with the number going up and up and up as people call in. It wouldn't be digital, I don't think, in 1980. It'd be very primitive, but I don't think it would be a chalkboard. Light bulbs would be, to me. Anyway, I think I'm going to do that in my sketch and see if Vidette agrees with me that would be a good solution. I'm just about ready to quit here. Not quit. I'm ready to quit broadcasting because I've droned on long enough. Goodness knows. Now it just so happens we actually literally have a photograph of the man who was leading the telethon, the newscaster from this station. So right now I'm working very much like a typical illustrator, right? Heck, just just work out all the dimensions and everything in Photoshop and then trace the dang thing, trace his head. Get it? So right now I'm being an illustrator for sure. I googled man wearing a tux, and then I had the photograph of, I think his name was Greg, I forget. No, Dean. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Vidette told me what his name was, and it was significant. This is all her memory, of course. This is what we're trying to read. And then I'm going to put a microphone in his hand, even though in the photograph he doesn't have a microphone. That's what the assignment of this painting. This is it's as close to it's as close to a Norman Rockwell-ish painting, just about as I would ever do, or as I've done. This is a Norman Rockwell painting. A little bit of what's the word? Humor is the word, but that's when you're talking about fine arts. You don't say humor, you say whimsical. Yeah, there you go. That, just in case you didn't know, that's the fine arts term for funny or slightly humorous, is whimsical. So slightly whimsical painting of this girl's memory. That's very slight. It's not. And here's her piano teacher sitting at the piano, accompanying them on Rocky Top. I would love to have heard that. You can Google Rocky Top. The Osborne brothers, I think, are the famous recording artists for that song. It's a bluegrass song, so it's not usually. I chuckle because the thought of Rocky Top being performed on a piano is a little bit funny, and she must have been pretty good, because I think you'd need at least 15 fingers to do justice to any bluegrass song on the piano. All right, I'm going to just finish. I'm sketching now. Once again, the piano bench, of course, is also in perspective. Not necessarily at the same angle, doesn't necessarily have the same vanishing points and everything else, but it might be simplest just to keep it that way. Wow, can you guys see that? Oh, and then I'm going to do, let me do a little bit more. I'm going to do stage lights up here in the ceiling, shining down at all different angles. and then the I don't know what they call this stuff, the metal bars, poles that hold the lights up there. So there we are. So the next step, I think I'm ready. I won't keep broadcasting, but I'll just show you. I mentioned earlier. So there, that was my last rough sketch, right? And then it turned into this, quite a bit more detail in the faces of the girls. And now I'm going to turn the whole thing over, turn on this light table, and then redraw everything, making corrections, tracing. I already see, you know, several little things here and there that I would clean up or correct or whatever, tighten up. Anything that looks correct, of course, I'll tighten it up. And then I will, of course, erase everything on this side. Now, it's possible that after I'm done with this, I might feel like, bam, that's perfect, that's enough. It's possible then, in which case I'll scan this image again into my computer, into Photoshop, and flop it back in Photoshop. Otherwise, I will do 3 sketches, depending on, you know, I mean, still got a lot of stuff. I have to figure out, you know, folds in fabric and all kinds of stuff that still needs attention back there, in there, I should say. And I really like my middle-aged piano player there. And of course, boy, doesn't he look slick. Leaning over, kind of cool, Joe Cool, smiling at the girls. Yep. All right, let me see, what else? What are you guys saying? Okay, Alexandra, yeah, I mean, pencil, graphite on sketch paper. That's all I'm using here. Metallus, that's another question. If you're going to make a point about a lot of background work, per se, I imagine this Striking of the Last Supper by Dali is an example of the Raphael work you made. That is correct. That is correct. Lots of geometry. He's crazy. What is the world percent? I'm missing that. Oh yeah. Oh, what is the world percent of African American population? Good question. That's just one country. Yeah, that's just in the United States. I have no idea in the world. You guys are getting into all kinds of evolutionary history. Good for you. You go for it. Yep, Fertile Crescent. Yep. Hello, Wanda. Thank you. I don't know. You're still here? Good. Bless you. Yeah. Well, thank you, guys. I enjoy your chats very much. Let me move just for a minute, because no doubt somebody's joined us and you're wondering, who is this guy who drones on forever and ever and ever? Hang on. That would be me. That's me. Thank you for joining me today. My name's Dan, and I hope to get this sketch all finished and all approved and start on the real painting. I've got 2 paintings that I'd like to work on and finish this week. This one and this fantasy landscape. And if I do, I'll certainly broadcast and let you watch along. Thank you again for your company. Bye-bye.